to dive in? Do we want to start with you telling us a little bit about your background and your involvement with the Texas Public Schools and the TEA?
My name, again, is Ray Cogburn, and I'm a retired school administrator after 40 years in the business here in the state of Texas. I served in different capacities, training school board members, worked closely with 62 superintendents across our region on whatever they needed, and then was fortunate enough to move to the assistant or associate director position for 4 years. And in the last 6 years of my career, in my 40-year stint, was as executive director at Region 16.
Are we going to go back to some type of norm of absenteeism after COVID?
Yeah, I think we will. I think that, I know for a fact that the way schools in Texas are funded is through student attendance. In Texas, we make predictions about what our attendance is going to be. And each student is worth X amount of dollars per day, anywhere from $50 a day to $85 to $90 a day that they're there in attendance. And when they're not in attendance, when they're sick or there's some type of virus in the air being transmitted or something has happened where they are absent, then schools take a big hit. Most of our kids, after our first testing back from COVID, we found that most of our school systems were anywhere from 5 to 7 months behind on learning. If we don't have good air quality, if we don't have a way of filtering out some of the things that are flying around in the air, then COVID or not, we're not going to have kids in the seat learning. So vitally important.
So I think next we wanted to talk about a little bit on how much of indoor air quality, how do you feel about indoor air quality and how much of a priority are we seeing this becoming in schools right now?
I think we've always known it was important. Even the small school district where I served as superintendent, we always worried a little bit about air quality. Right. And I know for a fact, prior to COVID, flu seasons, viruses, strep, things of that nature, we had to take a lot of precautionary measures, had to do a lot of spraying of individual classrooms, things of that nature. And I think it's just because we had poor air quality. And then as COVID came into being and as doctors began to research actually how COVID was spread, we found that really surface spread was not as big an issue as in the air particulates that spread COVID, and thus, masking, things of that nature went into effect. But overall air quality was something that was important.
And now, what goes on during summer when kids are out of school? Is there any funding like ESSER funding?
Yes, there's still the ESSER 3 money. What I've tried to do is encourage some of the superintendents that I have a relationship with, even though they may have put on their application and it has been approved that they use it for various other things. If they don't spend all of it, even if they have allocated it, think about air quality and think about what can you do. And if you look at the expense of these units that for this solution, you'll find that it's overall not very expensive.
So Ray, how would you say your experience has been with the cost of ownerships now that you've put them into some of your schools?
Very, very pleased with that piece of their functionality. You like I mentioned earlier, you can go to the big box stores and you can buy something that sits on your floor and blows a little air and circulates it around, and you'll check the filter after a couple of months, and it's got a little dust on it, and you replace it and you think, man, this is doing a great job. Reality is it's probably not. And unless they truly have been through the testing that the airbox solution has been through and truly are HEPA certified, you're probably not getting the type of filtration that you hoped you would. And in addition to that, I've had different administrators that have said, we can do this for about half the cost. And so they go out and they buy those units and they work for a little while and then they don't. And most of the ones that I've dealt with have already either unplugged those or have hauled them off because they're not built for that. When I've looked at other units, could I go to one of the big box stores and purchase a unit? Absolutely. Purchase it very cheaply. But when you look at the filters that go in there, they might be a couple inches thick. And you compare that to the smaller unit that the airbox folks have as their solution, and that's all that's in that unit is filtration, and it's probably 18 inches thick.
What advice would you have for schools that are trying to have better indoor air quality? Where do they start? What is the best solution for them to start with?
So if they really are interested in that, I know a lot of times school boards and communities are interested in that, and they are prodding the administrators to spend money on air quality. If that's the case, I would say I would recommend the first thing they do is contact the guys at PureBox because, getting back to whatever our normal is. And as we get back to our normal, there are still other things like cold, flu. In Texas, New Mexico, and some of the other states, we've experienced a lot of wildfires in the last few years as vegetation has grown and we've seen a lack of rainfall. And I know a lot of the schools now are battling with, how do we get the kids back? How do we get the teachers back when there's smoke everywhere? And the reality of that is I wish that those folks would look at the airbox solution.
Okay, Ray, you've mentioned a couple of times the Apex 2.0. How would you compare that to one of your standard classroom units?
And that's one of the things that I think has been a little bit of a struggle, possibly with selling folks in school districts on air quality because you can't see it or touch it or feel it. When you put a unit in the classroom, then you really do have something there you can hang your hat on. One of the things that impresses me the most is the first time that I saw one of the units, whether it be the large one, the medium size, or the small unit. When you open the door of that unit, you see that there's a blower and filtration. The HEPA filtration is just pretty amazing because of the thickness of the filters. You know that it does a better job aside from the research just by looking at it. The reality is I've worked with these guys and I know how they work with school districts, and they're open to looking at floor plans. They're open to giving you some advice, and they're also open to helping you save money, not just sell you everything that they can sell you and say, oh, well, good luck with that. That's not how that works. So I would recommend to administrators, don't be shy about reaching out to the company and just asking them. I know sometimes as administrators, we get a little concerned about that because we're thinking, we're not ready to jump off that cliff yet. But these guys know their product. They know they can give you the research. Everything they tell you is the truth. It's not just to sell units. And they truly are in a situation where they want to try to help school districts. It's not a matter of choose our solution or no. It's a matter of what kind of air quality do you want in your school and what kind of long-term solution would you like for air purification. And if you want a good one, these are the guys to reach out to. And if just because you reach out to them doesn't mean you have to buy anything. They would love to sell you something just like any of us would. But the reality is, they're trying to help and they're trying to find a good solution long-term for school districts.